Niner Gang, buckle up because the energy around the San Francisco 49ers right now is wild. There's quarterback drama, a possible pass rush reinforcement sitting on a practice squad, a star wide receiver whose future in the Bay looks more and more uncertain, and a young safety suddenly playing like a real difference maker again. It feels like one of those stretches that can redefine an entire season. So sit back, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into what's really going on with this team. Let's start with the most sensitive spot on the roster, quarterback. After that win over the Panthers, a lot of 49ers fans were happy with the result, but far from convinced about the performance under center. Brock Purdy came back from his turf toe injury, got the W, but left a big question mark in the air. Was that really the quarterback this offense needs down the stretch, or a shaky version still trying to find his rhythm? He went 23 of 32 for 193 yards, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions with late reads, balls hanging too long in the air, and an attack that looked stuck at key moments. Right after the game, the obvious question was if that turf toe was still bothering him. At the podium, though, Purdy took ownership. He said the reads were fine, that the decisions weren't the problem, and that what failed was the execution of the throws. In his words, he needed to drive the ball more and stop floating it. When reporters pushed on the injury, he shut that door quickly. The toe is fine. No excuses, no hiding behind the issue that kept him out for 6 games and opened the door for Mac Jones to run the offense for more than a month. If he says he's healthy, the standard and the pressure both shoot right back up. The practice report backs that up, listing him as a full participant, but you and I know practice and game speed are two different worlds. With the Browns next on the schedule, bringing a physical, aggressive defense that loves to collapse the pocket, the real test will be how much velocity he puts on the ball, how confident he looks in his mechanics, and how quickly he processes when the pass rush closes in. Every snap is going to be a small referendum on whether he's truly back. And there's another layer hanging over all of this: the presence of Mac Jones on the sideline. Every time Purdy hesitates or sails a throw, the conversation fires up again. Is it time to think about a change if the mistakes keep piling up? This Week 13 matchup doesn't feel like just another regular season game. It feels like a test of what version of this offense is going to show up for the rest of the year. While we're all watching the quarterback situation, there's another phase of the team flashing a massive red light: the pass rush. With Nick Bosu on injured reserve, Yetur Gross-Matos out, Michael Williams on IR, and Sam Okwuegbunam banged up, the defensive front has turned into a survival test. The 49ers pass rush has been leaning heavily on Bryce Huff, and the drop-off behind him is impossible to ignore. That's why the front office has been scanning practice squads around the league looking for help, and one name keeps popping up: Carl Lawson. Lawson is on the Baltimore Ravens practice squad, healthy and waiting with 32 career sacks and real production as both a starter and a high-impact rotational piece from his time with the Bengals, Jets, and Cowboys. The wild part is that any team can sign him straight off that practice squad to its 53-man roster. No draft picks, no trade compensation, just a roster spot and a plan for how to use him. From a scheme standpoint, the fit almost looks too good. Lawson has been at his best in wide 9 alignments, in obvious passing situations, attacking one-on-one matchups against right tackles, and living in those aggressive subfronts where the only job is to blow up the play. That's exactly how Chris Kukurik wants his edge rushers to play when this defense flips into attack mode. The Niners don't need him to be a 60-snap Iron Man. They need a closer who comes in, pins his ears back, and hunts quarterbacks when it matters most. People plugged into both organizations keep pointing to Lawson as a name firmly on San Francisco's radar. The staff doesn't want to live and die by blitzing and knows that without Bosa, the natural 4-man rush hasn't looked the same, with a huge burden on Huff. Adding a veteran who can win one-on-ones right away and bring instant pressure changes the math for this defense. From Lawson's side, the message is simple. He wants real snaps. He's reportedly in good shape, motivated, and more than ready to leave a practice squad role. A landing spot like San Francisco, with a playoff caliber roster and a need for help on the edge, is exactly the type of opportunity a veteran like him waits for. And while the front office studies that possibility on defense, there's a very different kind of storm building on offense involving one of this team's biggest stars. The Brandon Aiyuk situation has reached that awkward stage where everyone can feel the end coming, even if nothing official has been said. Inside the building, very few people truly believe he's part of the long-term picture in the Bay anymore. That explosive report from The Athletic, combined with the decision to void his guaranteed money for 2026, sent a clear signal. The relationship is strained and a split this offseason feels more likely than not. Add the uncertainty about whether he'll even step back on the field this year, and you get a locker room storyline that just won't go away. It's not like Aiyuk is completely out of the picture. There is still a scenario where he chooses to come back and play again this season, but that choice is risky for him. If he returns and suffers another injury, it could damage his value on the open market and complicate his next contract. If he decides to sit, part of the fan base is going to read that as him turning the page on the 49ers. It's a lose-lose type of situation, and it's hard not to look back and wonder if the team should have pulled the trigger on a trade when the market was hot. At this point, though, there's no rewinding the clock. What the front office can do is look ahead, and that's exactly what they're doing with the 2026 NFL Draft. The good news for the faithful is that the upcoming wide receiver class looks strong and deep. Even if the Niners are picking in the 20s, there should be a talented receiver on the board with the upside to grow into a featured weapon in this West Coast offense. Names like Makai Lemon from USC, Carnell Tate from Ohio State, Denzel Boston from Washington, and Jeremy Bernard from Alabama are all worth circling as potential targets. Each of those guys brings something different: route running polish, size, speed, ball skills, but they all share one key trait: upside. And this front office has already proven it knows how to find value at receiver late in the first round. That's exactly where they landed Aiyuk back in 2020. Look at how the 2026 depth chart shapes up without him. Ricky Pearsall, Demarcus Robinson, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins. With all respect, that group doesn't exactly scream elite passing attack. Pearsall has shown flashes but has struggled to stay healthy. Robinson, Cowing, and Watkins can fill roles and help the room, but none of them are clear-cut long-term number one options. That's why attacking the receiver position hard in the next draft isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity if this offense wants to keep its ceiling high. And while the future of the passing game is being mapped out, there's a different kind of story unfolding on defense. A former question mark has started turning into an exclamation point, and even Kyle Shanahan, who almost never gushes publicly about individual players, couldn't hold back this time. The name lighting up the conversation inside the locker room right now is Ji'Ayir Brown. Shanahan went out of his way in his press conference to highlight how much Brown has grown, how he's handled adversity, and how he's finally starting to look again like the instinctive playmaker the 49ers thought they were getting. When the head coach speaks like that, it's not just talk. It changes how teammates, coaches, and even opponents look at a guy. Shanahan revisited Brown's roller coaster, how he stepped in when Talanoa Hufanga went down, how he played at a really high level all the way through that Super Bowl run, and then how he lost reps when Huff came back. For a lot of fans, 2024 turned Brown into a symbol of inconsistency and frustration. But inside the building, the belief never disappeared. This season didn't start smoothly for him either. Injuries, rehab, and missed time in camp opened the door for other players to get looks at his spot. Brown had to accept different roles and grind his way back through special teams and that big nickel role the staff kept mentioning. That willingness to do the dirty work, to stay locked in even when he wasn't the guy, really resonated with the coaches and earned him another real shot. Once he got that shot back at safety, he ran with it. Over the last 6 weeks, Brown has started to look like a different player. More disciplined in his reads, more confident triggering downhill, better at breaking on routes, and most importantly, making plays on the ball. Those two interceptions against Carolina were the payoff of film study, timing, and trust in his instincts. Shanahan talked about how Brown has finally found that sweet spot between doing his job exactly as drawn up and taking calculated risks when the tells are there. That's what separates a solid safety from a true playmaker, knowing when you can cheat the call a little and when you absolutely can't. At the same time, the head coach made sure to pump the brakes. When a player starts stacking splash plays, the temptation is to gamble more and more. That's how you go from hero to giving up explosives in a hurry. Even with those caveats, the moment he's living right now is huge for this defense. Stability on the back end matters. And if Brown keeps trending up, he becomes a core piece of this unit not just for this season, but for years to come. Put it all together and you can feel how critical this stretch is for the 49ers. The quarterback is searching for redemption and rhythm after a rough outing. The front office might be a single phone call away from adding a much-needed pass rusher. The offense is staring at a future that might not include one of its best weapons. And the secondary is watching a young safety grow into a real difference maker. Every storyline touches a different part of the roster, but they all point to the same thing: a team standing at a crossroads in its season. So, faithful, what do you think? Do you believe Brock Purdy bounces back and silences the doubts? Should the Niners go get Carl Lawson right now to juice up this pass rush? Is it time to mentally prepare for life without Brandon Aiyuk? And is Ji'Ayir Brown really the next long-term leader on the back end of this defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. We're riding this red and gold roller coaster together, and there's a lot more coming.